name is Carol, and today I'm going to be talking to you about video games and violence. A brief background about how this problem came forth, mainly in 1999, when studies began linking mass shootings to violence in video games. Mainly in the Columbine High School massacre, where the two shooters were found to be avid players of a first-person shooter game called Doom. Today I'm here to tell you that violence in video games have little to no impact on the youth and young adults. And my first point that supports my claim is, although there have been studies done to prove the link between violence and video games were made, there were a lot of flaws in those findings that leave them very questionable. My secondary claim is that in retaliation to the previous findings done by the American Psychiatric Society Association, multiple other studies have been found that were more detailed and more accurate that argue against video game and violence. And my final secondary claim is that instead of advocating violence, they have actually done the opposite by decreasing crime rates. So my first point, the American Psychological Association, also known as APA, have made a lot of studies to try to link these two things together, but they didn't consider a lot of factors such as mental health issues, family problems, and gender and age. Also, they did it on a very small group where the majority of the participants were males who are known to have higher levels of aggression. So, in retaliation to these findings, other psychologists, such as Dr. Olson and Dr. Kuttner, who work for the Center for Mental Health and Media, did their own studies. They found that violence in video games do increase levels of aggression, but they're so insignificant that really they don't cause any aggressive behaviors, violent acts, or any violent acts or delinquency problems in small children. They went through all the background, did a lot of background screenings. They take into consideration multiple things such as age, gender, parental restriction, mental health issues, and screenings to try to prove their facts. Their studies were so detailed that the APA actually retracted their original statement on the impact of video games and violent behavior, saying that although they're linked, violent video game play is linked to increased aggression in players, the insignificant evidence exists about whether the link extends to criminal violence or delinquency. My final point is that instead of advocating violence, they actually do the opposite by decreasing crime rates. So, during a period in 1994 to 2004, violent video game sales have increased, and during that same period, crime rates have decreased. Although it doesn't prove that they decrease crime rates, there can be a correlation made, especially since there have been other comparisons to other countries where they have video games with a lot more violent content, yet they have a lower crime rate than the USA. Also, researchers Markey and Markey, who are professors at a university in Nova and Rutgers University, have done research on the correlation between these two, especially in the decrease in crime rates, that people who are attracted to violence tend to be among those enjoying violent games, that enjoy violent video games. acts as a catharsis to efficiently remove people who enjoy violent content from the streets to other social venues where they might have otherwise committed a violent act. So in conclusion, my main thing is that violent video games do not cause violence in the young adults and the youth. And I proved it by saying that there have been many flaws in the findings that try to prove this correlation. There have been numerous studies that support the imaginary non-existent link, and that they decrease crime rates. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, the proposition's identified clearly. You still ended up with that word no in there. I think you probably could have eliminated it, but it wasn't a big deal. The supporting points are previewed pretty clearly. The phrasing on the second point is really a little bit awkward. I think you need to have a clearer declarative statement. Your first point, talking about the studies that found a link being flawed, you say that the APA did a lot of these studies, but you say they didn't control for X, Y, and Z. You list a whole bunch of things, but I don't get any source on this. I don't have anybody who made that statement. If the APA later on withdrew their endorsement of this research, I'm sure that they would have offered that criticism. I'm sure you have this information from someplace, but it's not cited here, and I think that's a little bit problematic, especially when you're going to then argue that the research that you're citing in your second point is so superior. And then in that second point, we don't really get any statistical information. We just get your summary of what you say happened in the research, and I think that's a little bit problematic. You're paraphrasing what the results of that research are instead of giving us direct quotes, and I think that's a little problematic. The aggression issue is explained a little bit. That's a way that they diminish the link there, and when the APA, for instance, suggests that they accept the conclusion about the aggression being mild or a small amount, I'm not sure that that addresses all of the issues concerning the link between video game violence and violence in society. There's a partial link that has to do with increasing aggression, but there's some other arguments that deal with this issue, and I'm not sure if they're repudiating the other parts of the argument. Since we don't get a direct quote on that, I think that's also a little bit of a problem. The catharsis argument at the end, you basically suggest that it's not causal, but you give an explanation about how this is counterintuitive, and then you finish up by basically suggesting that it is in fact causal, so that's a little bit of an inconsistency. It's pretty well organized. I think you set it up well at the beginning. It sounds like you've got good information in the speech, but you're not citing it as clearly and as frequently as you should. All right, thank you.